Yo, how's it going, everybody? So today we're going to be checking out two articles, one from Nintendo Life, and this one says Final Fantasy VII director has already completed over 40 playthroughs of the third game. Now, let's see what this article has to say. Final Fantasy VII fans are eagerly awaiting news on the upcoming final installment in the Remake trilogy. But if you're worried or anxious about the status of its development, then a recent comment from director Naoki Hamaguchi might bring you peace of mind. We recently interviewed Hamaguchi-san and asked how the third game is progressing, and to our surprise, he confirmed that he's already completed over 40 playthroughs. That's quite an accomplishment, but we imagine it's probably necessary to ensure the experience works as intended. It doesn't contain any nasty surprises. Here's what he had to say. We're very excited about how the game is currently progressing. I have already completed over 40 full playthroughs. I can't wait for as many people as possible to experience the game for themselves. And myself and the team are working hard to ensure we can create an unforgettable gameplay experience. There's no release date for the third entry yet, and we still don't know its full title, but we're confident an announcement can't be too far off at this point. In fact, when questioned about the short gap between the release of Remake and Rebirth on Switch 2, Hamaguchi-san may have subtly hinted at the idea of closing the trilogy fairly soon, after maintaining a steady cadence of launches to tell the overarching story. With large-scale titles like this one, it's common for a long gap to exist between the first and second installments. However, because they were ports, we decided we could deliver them without leaving much of a gap. We want to capitalize on this cadence and moment to tie the experience together without any gaps, from Remake to Rebirth to finally the third installment that lies beyond them. Our full interview with Hamaguchi is available now, so be sure to check it out for more interesting tidbits of information from the Remake trilogy's director. So yeah, he has played the game over 40 times, over 40 playthroughs, and I'm guessing it's looking pretty good. So that's the crazy part, is that if Hamaguchi's played the game over 40 playthroughs, that means, are we getting a demo? Are we? Is there a demo that he's playing? What is he playing? The actual whole game, or is he playing a demo that they might let us play, hopefully after Summer Game Fest or during Summer Game Fest? I don't know. But I would love to try the game out just like he is himself. I feel like that's the best way to kind of gauge the audience, is to say like, hey, we've been working on this game. Here's a little bit of a demo for what's to come. What do you guys think? Now, I personally would love to play it. I would love to check the game out early before picking it up later in 2027, and I'll tell you guys why I think it's going to release in 2027. But yeah, I feel like it's great that he's playing it, but please come out with a demo, tell us the release date, tell us the title. We want to know, and I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. So definitely let me know, and then let's move on to our second article. The account is anonymous. The user wrote, I'm posting this on behalf of somebody else I know to protect their identity, who works somewhere in the chain between Square Enix marketing and Summer Game Fest event staff. The level of vagueness is required for safety, so I apologize. They are not a developer and do not know details beyond this. All information was obtained from working the upcoming reveal, which will contain all of the same information soon. They provided me with the following information, and I've rewarded it. The trailer reveal for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 has been in development and is nearly completed to be shown at Summer Game Fest this year on June 5th. Square Enix proposed it be the final showcase of the event, but the event board declined for that position, instead of opting for an early reveal excitement builder. It sounds like they have an even bigger closure for the event, and that this year's show is overall the best in years. It's funny that they mentioned that's overall the best in years, because I don't really see like Summer Game Fest ever mentioning that. The trailer will be followed up by a second video of the development team explaining multiple new details. At the end, they announce a follow-up event will be held by Square Enix directly in the upcoming months. Okay, so it looks like the trailer will announce the title of Final Fantasy VII Return, early 2027 launch window, 3 additional permanently playable party members, 1 being brand new, okay, and then new optional combat system named active turn action. And then the developer overview will go over 3 times more narrative cinematics as featured in Rebirth in terms of duration, 2 times the world size as featured in Rebirth, including returning to Midgar, and then details on the new optional active turn action combat system, as well as Final Fantasy VII Remake, Triple Pack Sale, Remake, Rebirth, and Crisis Core Reunion, all bundled in one location for a holiday release, targeting new players to the trilogy preparing for the finale next year. The theme of the title return has triple meanings, and the trailer highlights it as return to the planet, return to combat, and return to the story. The developer overview explains in more detail: first, a return to the world of Final Fantasy VII and having access to the entire world map. Second, a return to the series' roots with a new combat system. And third, return is intricately tied to the story themes revealed within the game, but will also be explained until players play the game. The new combat system is very exciting to me personally. It is a modern take on the old turn-based formula. It is similar enough that they are calling it a return to the series' roots, as mentioned above, but I think it is more accurate to view it as a big overhaul of the classic combat mode available in Rebirth and Remake. It's important to clarify this is optional because the real-time action system is still the in-game and is basis of the new mode, still just heavily modified. And then it looks like we got some logo leak for Final Fantasy VII Return, with what looks like a blue and purple logo, which kind of mirrors this one right here. The Final Fantasy Rebirth logo, the far right side, it's like a blue and purple. The middle is red for Rebirth, and then the far left is green for Remake. So it's interesting that it'll be blue for Return. At least that's what the leaker thinks it's going to be. So, now what do I think about these leaks? First of all, we're not a leak channel. I don't really like covering leaks or rumors too much because, they set expectations really high and people get super excited and they think that they're going to have like this in the remake or this in the leak and this is going to transfer over or whatever, but none of that ends up happening. People get disappointed, so that's why I don't like covering leaks or rumors as often. But because Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is so huge and it's going to be such a big game, I feel like leading up to it, we're going to hear so much news and stuff that I just can't ignore it. So let's talk about some of the highlights of this post. Final Fantasy Remake Part 3 will be called Final Fantasy VII Return. Now, I don't know if it's going to be called Return. I don't even think we have like any idea what the game is going to be called, but I feel like going with Return is kind of like a cop-out. The reason why I say it's kind of like a cop-out, because we have Remake, Rebirth, and then Return. It just seems too simple, too predictable. And it is predictable because there have been a lot of people who already did kind of predict it. 3 new playable party members will be added in the game, 1 being brand new. Now, I know that Sid and Vincent are going to be added in Remake Part 3. It means we get to play with them directly. But as far as a third character that's brand new, I don't see anyone besides Reno, Rude, or maybe even Elena or Song. But other than that, I don't see who the third character could be. Okay, so the third thing is that it will feature a new optional combat system called the active turn action. Now that doesn't make sense to me because the action based combat in Final Fantasy VII Remake and then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has been really good, and I don't see why they would take that and change it and make it more turn based. Is what I think the article mentioned, that they would go for more of like a interactive turn based or something like that. But I don't see that happening just because Remake and Rebirth did so well. People really liked the combat, the flow of it, especially in Rebirth, where you can kind of mix and match materia and do all sorts of crazy things with team attacks and stuff, I don't see how they would change that combat even further, or what they could do to even push it any further. And then the fourth is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 will have a map twice the size of the one featured in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, of course, they're going to have a bigger map with like the spaceship, sorry, not the spaceship, with the, they'll have a bigger map because we're not just traveling by foot anymore. I think there are a lot of places that you have to go to as the characters, and that's not really easy without an airship, and that's where the map comes in. You know, we're going to be doing a lot of exploration, we're going to be going to a lot of places. Things aren't going to be just pseudo-linear anymore. I think it's going to be a little bit more on the open world side. So it'll be interesting to see what that's going to be like. I do believe that is real. And then the release date being 2027 makes sense, just because 2027 is Final Fantasy VII's 30th anniversary birthday. So I don't see why Square Enix would want to release earlier when that's the perfect opportunity to build up momentum and then just release the game early 2027 between January and April. Yeah, I think this leak is actually very, very fake. Not just because it's from someone who said that their friend works at Square Enix or whatever, but a lot of the things that they mention are things that we already know. They're not really mentioning anything big about characters from the story who are going to be coming, you know, what parts of the story they're not going to include, what parts they are going to include, the weapon fights. There's so much that has to happen in part 3 that I feel like this leak is just too small to even be like accurate. Not to mention that as soon as this leak dropped, the logo dropped as well. This fake Final Fantasy VII Return logo. Does it look pretty cool? Yeah, I like the color scheme and everything, but as far as the logo goes, it looks very AI generated. It looks very fake, so I can't really support that. Now, yeah, I don't know. I just think like things are gonna get pretty crazy leading up to the release of Remake Part 3, and I think we're gonna be seeing more articles like this where people bring up what they think and how they think the game should be. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what actually comes to light, what is true, what is not true. But if this is true, then man, it might be a very interesting game to play just because of this active turn action system, or you know, getting a new character to add to the group to be playable. Those are things that, although they sound really great, I just can't take them without like a grain of salt, you know. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think that this leak is true? Do you think the leak is fake? When do you think they're going to tell us more about Final Fantasy VII Part 3? I hope we get to hear some more stuff about Summer Game Fest. Maybe they'll even give us like a trailer at Summer Game Fest. But one thing I for sure hope is that they give us a demo to play. With the previous article I mentioned about Hamaguchi being able to play the game over 40 times, I feel like they do have a demo, or they might have a demo ready that they just haven't been able to push towards the audience yet because it's just not the right time to start the marketing. But I feel like that's going to be a huge help when they do start the marketing for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I will catch you guys later. Peace out.